Hello and welcome back to Watching Worst Film, the weekly podcast where we watched every winner of the Worst Picture from the Golden Raspberry Awards, the annual ceremony dedicated to the worst from Hollywood and beyond. As always, on this journey, I am your host, Kyle Szymanski, joined with Jericho Reed. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, and yes, we've reached the end of the journey. How are you feeling about it?
Good, yeah. It's like everything post finishing has been the end of the Lord of the Rings. It's when they go back home and they kind of wander around a little bit, and Frodo mopes around a little bit, and Sam gets married, and you just kind of like, oh, maybe we'll go to Rivendell. Maybe that'll fill the hole in my life.
Just you wait until in the extended cuts of Watching Worst Film where we will Mommy Dearest 2, here we come. But yeah, it's the end. It's the end of the line. We can't stretch this out any further, really.
God knows we've tried.
God knows we've tried.
Should we acknowledge that part of the reason we delayed this so long was so we could record it in person?
Yes.
And of course, here we are over Zoom.
We blew it on Mrs. Brown's Boys, the movie, which is fitting. That is fitting. It's nice to watch a film again. That was a nice way to end it, the way we started.
Yeah.
So tonight we are looking back, a little retrospective on the Golden Raspberries and the journey we've went through. And this is my idea. I'm obsessed with this kind of thing, with looking back and ranking and making spreadsheets. It's just what I like to do. I like to have a think about where we've been. So there's two parts to this. There is what we consider the worst, both pictures, directors, actors, actresses, screenplay. The very bottom of the barrel, what was genuinely terrible, terrible, terrible things to watch and experience. And on the flip side, we've also had to think about where the Razzies got everything so wrong, and sort of where their most offensive wins. I'm only going for wins. I don't know about you. I've only been picking winners here. Nominations don't mean nothing to me. Because I mean, obviously, I'd be covering Kubrick, Ennio Morricone, all the famous, infamous ones that have been nominated, but they didn't win. And I'm here for the winners, baby. So, if they've got anything else, we can get this started. Let's get this party started.
Yeah. I think we should get this underway. So, where are we starting? Are we starting at the top? Or are we starting at the bottom?
Well, your call.
I think we start with the best and work our way down to the worst.
Excellent. Not a problem. So, take us away, Jericho. What have you got first?
My number one, the best Razzie winning film, in my opinion. No surprise, it's my backdrop. It's Blonde.
It is Blonde.
Yeah, like by far and away. Wouldn't even, like, some of the other ones have little caveats maybe, but Blonde, I'm just like, no, Blonde is a great film, and I can't understand I can kind of understand why people might be rubbed the wrong way by like pro-life Marilyn Monroe, but So
no arguments from me here. I have my asterisks because I did speak so much on this journey about my three pillars, and I'm indebted to say that Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, is my real pick, because that's what set me on this journey. It's a film that has no fucking business being winning, never mind being nominated. I understand Freddy got fingered. I almost understand First Blood Part 2, but Star Trek V is a disgrace, and it shouldn't be anywhere near this. However, after coming on this journey, I am inclined to say that Blonde is the best film from the Razzies. It is a genuinely great film, and if you dislike it, you dislike it for its content, not for how it's made and how it's performed and how it's scored, and all the beauty of filmmaking is spot on. If you don't like it, it's because you just don't like the subject matter for a lot of it.
Yeah, it's like people taking issue with like Triumph of the Will or Birth of a Nation.
Yes.
Of like, the content is reprehensible, but like, given their place in cinema history, you have to kind of just marvel like what they were doing on a technical level.
And Blonde's not made by someone that even is inclined to believe that way. This is
Andrew Dominic is not a fascist or a white supremacist or
so
we're aware of.
So it's one of those weird. I always think it's probably how my beloved Sam Peckinpah was received in the 70s. I think there's parallels there that you must be this terrible person because you put content in that's doesn't fly with this audience. But yes, Blonde, absolutely. There's no debate here for me. There's a few little ones I really enjoyed, that I was wanting to talk about. I always need to give a shout out to Cocktail, which is probably the most fun I've had watching a movie, God knows how long. And, there's a few other ones that popped up that we've had some great times with. But hands down, no debate, Blonde is the best picture here.
Yeah, Blonde's kind of on its own tier for me of just like it has to be the objective number one, where like Blonde's the only one where I'm like, if Blonde had been nominated for Best Picture, I wouldn't have raised an eyebrow. Whereas the other ones, I'm like, well, I enjoyed this a lot, but like it's not on the same caliber as Blonde.
Exactly.
Okay, so was Blonde your number one as well?
Blonde, well, it's Blonde tied with Star Trek. That's why I have to talk about it. Star Trek was always number one in my heart until I watched Blonde, and I can't. I'm not going to say Star Trek's a better fucking film than Blonde. I'm not insane, but
William Shatner, Andrew Dominic,
tomato.
I'd love to see William Shatner's assassination of Jesse James.
Oh God,
Mr. Spock. Sometimes I can't tell if you want to be like me or you want to be me.
I want to see him direct Nick Cave documentaries. That's what I want to see. Your son, he's dead.
Mr. Cave, would you like to listen to me doing a cover of Balcony Man? He'd just be finding a way to duet with him.
I don't think you need those bad seeds. Oh yeah, fuck yeah, give me that. But other than that, that's complete. I do think our bests are going to line up pretty closely.
Yeah.
So on that note, are we going to actor next, is it?
Oh, you've ranked all of the actors?
No, I've just gone for the picks. I've just got my picks.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
Do you have one?
I can pull one out of my ass. No.
Well, what have you got? What have you got? Tell me what you've got. What have you wrote down?
Sorry, I ranked all of the Razzies from 1 to 46.
Oh, excellent. Oh no, fuck it. I've got the worst. I've got the ceremonies. I have the pictures. But no. I can do this too. I have this.
Okay.
1 to 46.
Okay.
Let me get my letterbox up.
Sorry, I can.
No. That's my.
Yeah, sorry. That's why I was like,
on
you just check we're on the same page?
It's alright. It's flying edge of our fucking our seats or whatever. Right, here we go. I've got mine. I got mine. Excellent. So Blonde, number 1. Perfect. So number 2 for me is Star Trek. What is number 2 for you then?
Number 2 for me is Indecent Proposal.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean,
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I'm not going to debate you on this. I had a great time watching Indecent Proposal again. It's a good film. It's a really solid film. I think on the basis level of a objective movie criticism, I don't have little. Subjectively, I've got other ones ranked higher for my enjoyment. What I take away from a film is equally as important to how it's made. So that's a little bit of why Indecent Proposal isn't so high for me. But objectively, it's a damn fine film. Like, thoroughly recommend it to anyone.
It was kind of the same thing for me, whereas like I know that technically some other films are better. Like my number 3 is better than number 2, but I don't think I had as much fun as I did with Indecent Proposal and seeing Woody put his wife on on that helicopter. You fucking idiot!
It was a good time though. No, I've got no arguments there.
All right, so number 3. Number 3 for me is Showgirls.
Okay. Number 3 for me is Cocktail. So
okay, nice.
We are going to diverge a little bit more than I expected. This is Cocktail. Why Cocktail's ranked so high for me is, and why Freddy's not ranked as high is because Freddy's my baby. I've loved that film so much. I've seen it to death. Yeah. Watching it for the Razzies.
I've raised it like it was my own son. Now go get a job, Freddy. You're 23 years old, Freddy. Go get a damn job.
The joy I got was watching it with people. Watching it with close people to me. It was, I could vicariously relive that first time experience of watching Freddy Got Fingered. However, to get that experience is what I got in Cocktail. I love Cocktail, knowing it only for Kokomo, and getting a journey that I still think about. Cocktail. I think about the boat and slashing throats on a boat all the time, and I blame Tom Cruise for that. So yeah, that's why I have number 3. What's yours?
Speaking of Cocktail, I went to see the new rom-com Sweeping the Nation the other day. Anyone But You, the Glenn Powell, Sydney Sweeney one. I almost leapt out of my seat when you are never going to guess who's in it. But Doug Coughlin plays the father of the bride.
Yes.
It's great, it's fun, it's frothing. I was like, oh my god, it's Coughlin's Law! He's there! 30 years on, but he's still... Yeah.
Legacy sequel.
And yeah, he's aged. He could do that. Obi-Wan Force Ghost. He's got gravitas, does old Coughlin. He's good. It was great to see him. Okay, so now number 4. We are very much in sync because my number 4 is Freddy Got Fingered.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I can't really fault any of these films hugely. Like, Freddy Got Fingered, I don't know if I love the idea of Freddy Got Fingered. I love individual jokes. I don't know if I love the entire film watching it. Like, I'm not going to be rushing to... It's probably something that I'll just watch my favourite bits on YouTube more than I will sit down to watch the film again. But still, for what it represents, I think you have to have it.
I absolutely agree. And yeah, I'm gonna slide it in there, number 4 as well. We'll sync up here nicely. I don't need to say anything else about that movie. There's hours and hours in the archives of that.
So, number 5, when he rains, he pours. It's Cocktail.
It's Cocktail. Okay. So I guess we've covered
just echoing
it.
your thoughts. Yeah. Great fun.
So here's where we're maybe starting to diverge, and I've ranked this higher over Rambo, just because this is another film that I think about. This was more surprise. I didn't expect this to be so much fun. It's The Postman.
I
really, really like The Postman.
The Postman was a fun watch. Yeah.
It was a good fucking time, and I never thought I'd say this before this podcast, but I would watch The Postman over Rambo 2 on a rewatch because it's got so much for me, and I enjoy it so much, and I think about when I think about a film and it lingers on, I've got to have The Postman there.
Okay, so number 6 for me. This is one where I'm like, I might not remember it as strongly as some of the other ones, but if I think of what Razzie film I would most like to see a sequel for, people are obviously always clamoring for a sequel to The Nice Guys, but for me, the standout Razzie sequel has to be Wiki Wiki Wild Wild West.
Oh,
I was like, It was such a fun time. I'd love to see the continuing adventures of Jim West and Kevin Kline. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I did too. I had fun. It's nowhere near as high for me. I mean, I'll probably lose count before we get there, but I can see why, and I understand why. Very, very different number 6 picks here, because mine is I Know Who Killed Me, the Lindsay Lohan 2007. Again, it's probably
the greatest film David Lynch never directed.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I could smuggle this in between Mulholland Drive and Inland Empire. No one will notice. He's done it again. Again, it's surprise. Thinking this was going to be just a fucking gaudy slasher film, and getting something Lynchian out of it. Never ever expected. The memory is a little bit hazy on it at times. I probably am merging it with Mulholland Drive in my head every day, but I would watch it again, and that's such a rare thing out of these that it's got to be here.
So my number 7 now, we haven't diverged as much as you'd think. It's just kind of everything I've said so far. These are all very close, and I don't have any real beyond Blonde. You can kind of argue placement of all of these are very, very, very close back.
The top 10 I think will be very, very close, if not identical, just reordered.
So my number 7 is The Postman, because I agree with you. It was a great time. I went into The Postman was almost a Battlefield Earth level dread, and instead I had a blast. 3 hours flew by. It's has so much going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I again just echoing. So that finally brings me into number 7 for me is Rambo: First Blood Part 2.
Nice.
Which has to be here. I still love it. I do. It's hard to separate nostalgia and childhood memories from a modern viewing of it. But yeah, I know it like the back of my hand. I'm very, very, very familiar with First Blood Part 2, and it was fun watching it with you, and I've got nothing bad to say, so yeah, it just fits in. It fits in nicely here.
Great. My number 8, I think this might be the furthest we've diverged thus far. My number 8 is Hudson Hawk. Because I had a really fun time with Hudson Hawk. You loved
Hudson Hawk, eh?
Yeah, the lost Indiana Jones film. Which, as you said, I enjoyed it more than Dial of Destiny.
Yes, yeah, definitely did. No, I do understand that. I'm not going to disagree with you. Here's where Indecent Proposal probably slips in for me. At number 8 is, again, I've watched it again. I've said everything before, so yeah, it's a fine film. But I'm not going to disagree with you, Hudson Hawk. I think you just enjoyed it more. I think it was just slightly more up your alley. But it's a fun time. It's a very fun time.
Yeah. Number 9, I Know Who Killed Me. So nothing to really add to what you said. Like, if The Postman was one of the ones I most dreaded, this was one of the ones that I knew least. We kind of spoke about how we were expecting like torture porn. But like, I didn't have any real expectations going in, so I was very pleasantly surprised and had a very fun time with I Know Who Killed Me. We'd happily rewatch because, like you said, it's kind of blended in with all sorts of other films.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. And here, my number 9 will be Showgirls.
Nice.
Which is lower, but again, it's not a film for me. It's a Verhoeven. It's great fun. I recommend it to anyone. But it's not RoboCop. It's not Starship Troopers. It's not something I love, and I do find it a bit long. So it just takes away a few marks that would keep it higher for me. Doesn't help that I think about Striptease probably more than Showgirls. I think watching them so close for this journey has fucked with my brain. But it's a good film. It's a very good film.
Okay, my number 10. I don't know what I was thinking, but
here's where we change.
Yeah. Go on, do it for your mama. Play with your cock and balls. Jack and Jill. So Jack and Jill, I could never quite make up my mind. It's undeniably just nostalgia and liking the Sandman and be like, whoa, 2 Sandmen, great. And it's just like I'm very susceptible to Sandman doing a funny voice. And so it was just a pleasant, frothy time. And when I went in expecting Grown Ups 2, and what I got was something slightly more akin to classic Sandman, it was a pleasant surprise, and I liked it a lot. And I'm looking forward to revisiting it every year.
This is the timeline split, because I don't think my pick could be any further away from Jack and Jill. It's Inchin for me.
Yeah, you loved Inchin.
I fucking loved Inchin. I don't think about it, so this is why it's probably dripping down the list. But at the time, I had such a surprise watching this. Many elements for me. Big Olivier, big fucking Shaft. Great time. I think as well, like, dreading it. It was one of those ones like you talk about, like The Postman, when you are dreading something and it turns out to be a pleasant surprise. I like the scale of it. I like it. I do. It's a kind of film you don't get anymore. Probably because of Inchin. But still, it's. I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend. I like it when it turns into a Bond film at the end and they're all spying on the boats. I fucking love it. Good times. And
if you loved Inchin and would like to learn more, then go to www.moonies.com.
Exactly, cults, you know. Jerry Goldsmith, cults. What more do I need?
Okay, my number 11. This is going to be like if we look at it. I'm confident either Inchin or this film will be our biggest disparity. 11 for me, Mommy Dearest.
Yeah, absolutely. Massively different here. I fucking hate Mommy Dearest.
Because I think Mommy Dearest, like, at school, did you ever get shown Sleeping with the Enemy? The Julia Roberts film. I can't remember who her husband is. It might be Tom Selleck. It's a film about domestic abuse, and we got shown it in SE. And Mommy Dearest, I think, almost works as like a PSA on like, are you in a narcissistic relationship? Then watch Mommy Dearest. And like, I just think the more time's gone on, the more Mommy Dearest, the more I've fallen into the John Waters camp, I guess.
Okay.
Just had him whispering in my ear for the past like year, and I phased out what you said about it being awful. And I'm like, yeah, it is kind of fascinating about like Hollywood and ego and all this stuff. I appreciate the ambition of Mommy Dearest, even if it doesn't flawlessly come off. So I had to recognize it for that.
Yeah, fair. I disagree strongly.
Yeah.
I really dislike Mommy Dearest. I don't see the camp value. I don't see anything fun out of it. It's the anti-cocktail. Cocktail is what I
Yeah.
got. I didn't get that from Mommy Dearest. Yeah, no, I disagree, but fair. Very fair. So this brings me back into sort of some of yours. Mine's pick here is Wild Wild West, which is
nice.
everything you've kind of covered already. It's fucking fun. It's a time capsule to the late 90s when Godzilla was American, and our starships, our troopers went on starships. It was great. So yeah, great time. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay, number 12. I've surprised myself with this. 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay,
I think
that
it's
is-
because maybe my judgment of the franchise, like I see it too much as a franchise, whereas I'm like, if you just look at the film in isolation, I think the first one isn't too insane. Like most of the things I think that are terrible are about how it handles like abuse and like when Christian becomes Dom Man and it uses his powers to stop it and make someone drop a gun, and all the ridiculous stuff involving molestation and the final films when there's gunfights and whatever. If you just look at the first one, and I'm like, okay, you can see that this is only one or two steps removed from something like Secretary. This is kind of like Secretary for Dummies, or like, I don't know. I think I had this thought the first time I watched Phantom Thread, where I was like, who should have directed 50 Shades of Grey? Paul Thomas Anderson. I bet he could have made a great film with that source material, just throwing everything away, because he wouldn't have been afraid to make Christian Grey into the man-child that he is.
No.
So maybe again, I'm just thinking of what the film could have been as opposed to what it actually is.
Yeah.
But
That's fair.
50 Shades of Grey and 12.
In at 12, 50 Shades of Grey. Okay, again, that's a surprise. I'll cover my opinions once I get down the list and get down to 50 Shades. So, my number 12 is The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Nice.
Which was probably, I think you enjoyed it even more than I did, so I'm surprised it didn't pop up higher. But it's probably what I wanted out of Hudson Hawk. I want less singing and more, more snarkiness. I enjoyed Adventures of Ford Fairlane. I think it could have been a great film, and it's good fun. Rennie Harlan, it fits in nicely here. It's a very very middle ground here for me, but a perfect example of that.
Yeah. So number 13, Space, The Final Frontier, Star Trek V. That's where it's slotting in for me.
Wow. Yeah, no, but yeah, I guess.
I like. It's worth saying that we're still, despite the presence of 50 Shades of Grey, Jack and Jill, and Mommy Dearest, we're still in the largely kind of favourable tier, where I'm like, I wouldn't rush out to watch Star Trek 5 again, but if someone put it on, I would be happy enough to watch it. And like, it has like, I there's lots of bits I like when there's the cliffhanger opening and the rocket boots and the one question for you. What would God want with a starship? I like it. I like it. It's yeah.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. I thought you'd already mentioned it, so I was surprised it popped up this low.
Unlucky 13.
Alright, so for Unlucky number 13 is a film I have a lot of fun with. It is not a good film. It is not a good film. I know I wouldn't recommend this to nobody, but if you're with friends, it is Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas, right in at number 13. And this is my letterbox. As this is not retroactively changed. It was high on there, and I'm sticking with it. Yeah, in terms of just fun, like I think I've never laughed as much, unintentionally, maybe intentionally. I don't know, Darren. You tell me. But like I had such a blast with it. My mouth was like fucking agape at some of the stuff. And even before the dancing, it's the hot chocolate with empty cups. It's super buff Santa kicking ass.
Yeah.
And telling it all in a car. Like, it's insane. It feels like a Tim Robinson sketch come to life.
Oh man, that would be so good. Why do you have to plant that scene? I'm just imagining the crooner in the car with Taranto and Kirk Cameron now.
Kirk Cameron's dead-eyed stare. I just love it all. It's a very, custom-made film for me. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but I had such a fun with it.
Yeah. Are you going to be emailing Darren like, Darren, can I interest you in a proposal for a sequel? It's been 10 years since you've saved Christmas. I think it might need saving again. Okay, my number 14, the double bill. We've had Star Trek. We've now got Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Yeah, it comes.
I liked it. Can't really criticize it. Just like it didn't have that X factor to push it up higher, but it's by no means a bad film. Yeah, had a pleasant time with it. And maybe just lacking the childhood nostalgia angle, but yeah, it was fun enough.
So I think this is probably my tipping point now. 14
Okay.
I'm picking. There's very little to separate until we get to the very bottom. Now this is all more or less things I wouldn't recommend, but what did I have the slight most enjoyment out of? So my number 14 is of course The Lonely Lady, which is my mommy dearest. I think essentially, it was what I want. It's the campy, weird domestic abuse story. But yeah, Pia surprised me. I think about it as well, like the fucking weirdness of the film and how it's paced and how it moves. The speech at the end is imprinted into
I
my
think
brain.
about the speech quite a lot. Yeah, I don't think about.
Not thinking about garden hoses and.
I think about the sexual assault scene. I think about the violation, but I
think of Pia struggling,
I can't
trying to
remember any
roll
of the
heart
middle.
out. No,
the weird Doctor Who scene where she's in the asylum or whatever.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's a little piece.
Cousin who's like, I bet you'd like if I was erect like a hose, wouldn't you?
But yeah, like I wouldn't recommend it, but it is my campy version of Mummy Dearest. It's funny.
Yeah.
If you can find a copy of it, it's bizarre, weird, badly acted. It's fun though. It's a Golden Raspberry like winner. That's a true winner for me. So yeah, Lonely Lady, right in.
Yeah. Okay, my number 15. We're still my tipping point's yet to come. My 15 is The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. I fucked him. Oh, just to echo what you said, like this could have been something special. It's just lacking a little bit. Like the script needed a little bit more polish, I guess. Yes. But like conceptually, the direction's there. Dare I say it? Andrew Dice Clay is kind of there. You just need to give him a little bit more material to work with. But didn't hate it by any means. No. It's just frustrating because the potential could have been that much greater.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're 15.
My 15 is Under the Cherry Moon.
Oh, wow.
The Prince Church. Right, it's a good film. I really enjoyed watching it. I really enjoyed talking about it with you, right? I don't remember it. I don't think about it. Yeah. I barely piece things together. Where's Morris Day? I think about Morris Day more than I think about Under the Cherry Moon. Yeah, it's a fine film, stylish, unique, great soundtrack, but as a film, really unmemorable. Really just faded from my brain. So it slots in here nicely. Yeah. It's fine. If you're a Prince fan, watch it.
Yeah. Don't disagree. My number 16, it's a Mr. Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck. Explain yourself.
Like I don't know. It's just kind of like this is the
you enjoyed
perfect
Under the Cherry. You enjoyed Under the Cherry Moon more than Howard the Duck on the episode.
Yeah. I know. It might just be that Under the Cherry Moon. I think I was going to talk about this when I got to it, but I think it's Graffiti Bridge has hurt Under the Cherry Moon retrospectively because I've soured on Prince a little more, whereas like. I've like you said, I've kind of forgotten about it. Whereas for good or for ill, Howard the Duck has stuck in my brain with all sorts of moments. And the fact that I didn't actively hate it, it's unreasonably high, probably.
Yeah, yep, fair. So that brings me for Hudson Hawk.
Okay, yeah.
Which is what I covered from you before. We spoke about.
Yep.
There's a lot of things in there I enjoyed. I remember Side by Side. I remember all the beats and the grooves.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough for me, and it's probably too much Bruce, too much Bruno, not enough things around it. But it's fun, and I can see why it's a bit of a cult classic. I'm surprised it's not so much for me, if that makes sense. But yeah, I agree with you before.
Okay, so this is my tipping point now, where all of these are quite tightly packed, and these are kind of like bad films. But I'm making my play for the gay community. Catwoman. It's the top of the pack for this. Like,
top of the pack.
I'm an ally. I understand what you're saying. I hear you. I'm holding space for you. There's a room where we can all watch Catwoman together, and you can explain why it perhaps should be higher. But yeah, Catwoman. It's bad. Like, it's just it's long and it's dull and it looks disgusting. But Halle Berry's kind of fun to watch when she gets to do stuff, which is very rare, I guess. That basketball scene. I don't know. Kids are watching the basketball scene on TikTok alongside other things. It's just like video games, just split screen.
No, fair. So you being a good ally will reflect badly on my choice now, because my next pick is Striptease. Which, you know what, like, although it's quite low down here, I didn't hate it. I know I liked it more than you did. Burt Reynolds stole my heart and my pants, and it was good fun. Moore sucks in it. It isn't a good film, but like, and it is worse than Showgirls. It's not, but it does blend in. There's too many people in both, Like, I enjoyed it though. I enjoyed probably the second half way more than the first half. But it's why I think about it. I still have it in the brain, so it's here.
Yeah. My favorite thing is when a movie gives you something that you can take away with. So in Hard Eight, the Paul Thomas Anderson film, Philip Baker Hall teaches John C. Reilly a little scheme involving like rate cards and how to make it seem like you're gambling more than you actually are, so you can get a free room at a casino. And Striptease also does that with, hey, why not take a leaf out of Ving Rhames' book and hide a palmetto bug in some yogurt? You could earn up to $100,000 in compensation.
Well, there's my point. You remember it. You remember all that.
Yeah,
right?
I remember it for sure.
That's a good sign of a film, especially these Razzies, especially as we go down the list.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I going to say about Colour of Night? Like.
My number 18 is Basic Instinct 2. Which I feel like it gets a good placement just because I can't remember a single thing about it. I don't remember liking it. I don't remember disliking it. It's just the PH7, complete neutrality. I'm like, we watched that.
It was a film.
Stan Collymore crashes into Canary Wharf, I think.
No, I enjoyed watching it. I didn't enjoy that film, but so it's going to be lower down. But that's fair.
Yeah.
So what was my equivalent? Yep, here's where I would slot right in 50 Shades of Grey. According to my Letterboxd, that's where it is, so that's what I'm sticking with. Probably very similar to you, what you said. It's fine as well. Like, standalone, not seeing any of the sequels, not seeing anything else. Like, if that's all
I'd
I
like
ever
you to see them.
I'm
I'd
happy.
like to hear what you think about it.
No, don't ruin it for me. I'm trying to say it's nice in a bubble. Don't burst the bubble. But I did enjoy it.
So, number 19 for me, which is another one which I don't know what I was smoking. Fantastic Four.
Oh fuck. Yeah, oh fuck me, man. Yeah, explain yourself.
I don't know. It's maybe lacking flat out incompetent moments, as the incompetency is just kind of spread evenly across every area, from casting to pacing to storytelling. But like, it was just kind of like, it's another one where I was like, I don't really remember much of it. I don't have any strong memories. And I think it's good in that, like, it doesn't drag, because like, it's just like, okay, we're in the negative zone and we fought Doctor Doom and I guess this is the end now.
Yeah. No.
Whereas other generic superhero movies, you can tell that it's like, okay, they're going to fight the villain first, and then they're kind of going to get their asses handed to them a little bit, and then they're going to go away and regroup, and then they'll defeat them. Whereas Fantastic Four just shoots straight to, no, we kicked his ass, nothing really to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I disagree, but that's a fair point.
Yeah,
It's a very fair
yeah.
point. So my number 19 is also a comic book adaptation. It is Howard the Duck.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Sliding that Marvel property right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I echo what you said earlier about Howard. I didn't like it. I still don't like it.
Yeah.
But fucking hell, is it a unique film? You'll never see
Yeah.
something like this, and it'll stick with you to the day you fucking die. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a weird one. Again, it's still memorable. I'm not quite into the forgettable slide that is a way to happen. But yeah, Howard
Yeah.
the Duck, number 19.
Okay. My number 20, The Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn Part 2. I think just because of the presence of Lee Pace. I
Yeah.
think that's all I remember.
I have it at 21, so I'm just gonna round it up to 20. I'm gonna swap them round just to talk about them. Yeah, I still enjoy it. I've only seen the first
Yeah.
and the last, and
Yeah.
the whiplash just makes me laugh so much that that's enjoyable to me. And the
Now,
insanity.
imagine that, but for 50 Shades of Grey. Because it's easy in a world where you have vampires and magic to introduce this whiplash. When you're meant to be in a grounded reality, how are you going to do the equivalent? But yeah, equal amounts of whiplash take place between the first and the last film,
Yes.
and they also only have 3, so there's less time to make up.
What the fuck happened in the second one? Yeah,
Why the fuck has Anna got a robot baby?
But that's it. Robot Baby, Michael Sheen. Like, there's
Yeah.
so much done by Pace. There's
Dakota Fanning throwing the baby into the fire.
fucking Taylor Lautner lusting after a baby. Like, it's all just the
Yeah,
weirdest.
pedophile Jacob.
It's such a weird fucking film, and
Yeah.
it's very specific conditions and why it's here for me. If I had slogged my way through the rest, I don't think I would have enjoyed this so much. But based on that alone, my unique experience. But yeah, it's now number 20. I've moved up one.
Yeah. Okay, my number 21, an Alan Smithy film, Burn Hollywood Burn.
Yeah.
Similar to the Fantastic Four rationale, I think this is just forgettable alley of their like films that they didn't leave a bad taste in the mouth, so I've just kind of got them here. I'm like, I liked little things.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hugely hate any single aspect, so just yeah.
I'll
Billy
get to-
Bob was there, and got to shout it out for that.
So that ranks higher than Striptease because Billy Bob was there.
Yeah, if you put Billy Bob in Striptease,
Yeah.
now we're talking. Like they had him in Indecent Proposal.
They
He's
do,
in my
they
number
do.
2.
So yeah, 21 for me. This is where this is going to be very different. It's Leonard Part 6, which is with the asterisks of the viewing experience again. Watching it was a very late one as well. I do remember that. It was all adds into it, but you know what? Like, it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be, and there is some moments in there that I enjoyed. I do remember it. I think about the finale quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it, but it was so much better than I expected. Like, and we're gonna get to the bad comedies. I liked how this stood above them, and yeah, it is the experience of watching it with near and dear people, but. Yeah, it's here. It's here. I'm not defending it though. I'm not defending Bill.
22. I don't do anything professionally. I only do things for fun. It's Under the Cherry Moon, which, on the basis of me remembering that quote alone, has to be placed a lot higher.
It does, yeah.
But yeah. It honestly just is the graffiti bridge factor of now. The more I'm thinking about Under the Cherry Moon, the more I'm like, oh yeah, no, that was fun. Black and white prints hanging around. Just yeah. But I disliked Graffiti Bridge so much that it soured me on Prince as a whole. But yeah, we're gonna boost that up a few places.
Yeah.
You're 22.
Fantastic Four, based
Okay,
on the. I'm gonna be generous and say 5% of the film that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Just keeps it down. I don't like it. I really don't like it. It's a fucking slog. But it is more memorable than I would have expected.
Yeah.
I didn't expect a second viewing to kind of be as fun, but yeah, it was. There's a lot of stuff, ideas I do like, and I think Trant got his way. I would have loved this film, but it is a big miss, and it is a fucking slog, and that is probably one of the biggest cardinal sins, like you said before. It's long, it's fucking tedious. So yeah, it goes in here. It's got some good points, but nah, the bad weight outweighs it.
Yep. Okay, my number 23, do 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 do. Can't stop the music,
You
which
can't stop.
it's just it's nothing. It's forgettable. Like a Village People biopic should not be about people who are not the Village People.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
So what's your basis on having it so high then?
Because there are aspects that I like Milkshake. No movie with Milkshake can be lower than 23. Like, I like the songs. When someone hangs dong in the YMCA, there are aspects. Like, I don't hate it. It's just aggressively average.
Yes. Yeah, and I it's coming up for me very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you, to be honest. It's all valid points. Yeah. So that brings me up to Basic Instinct 2. Slots in here now for me. It's better than I expected. I expected straight to DVD trash. And it is a cut above that. It is weird. There's some fun stuff in it. It is a rehash. It is pretty hard to watch at times. But it is a movie, so like after this, I'm getting a bit like, what the fuck am I watching? This is still a movie. Yeah. Too late, unnecessary, rehashed, but it's okay.
Yeah. So my number 24, movie 43.
Oh.
So this could easily be a lot lower, but the fact that it changes enough, there's enough jangling keys that like I could never really sit. Like, if any of the sketches were feature length, I'd be like, oh, God. But there's that one we spoke about, the homeschool one. And I think I've also just changed the ending to R1, where he becomes a school shooter. Yeah. Movie 43, it's bad, but there were glimmers of potential, which we're going to see with less frequency as we get down to the dregs.
Yep. So my next up is Can't Stop the Music, which is very soon, echoing very much what you said. It's got Hang and Dong, it's got the Goot. Yeah. It's got, it's probably the best soundtrack here as well. The title track I fell in love with. I do think about the title track a lot, and all the other hits come, but yeah, it's really short, and it's really easy to watch. It's got a catchy soundtrack, and I do enjoy the Village People biopic starring Steve Guttenberg, who gets pushed so quickly into the background. Like, he is in a fucking recording booth, like, out of sight, out of frame. Yeah, I love it.
Sorry, Goot, we've just got a call. Caitlyn Jenner's available. You're now 7th billed.
Behind Randy the Cowboy. Yeah, it's a weird... It's a great Razzie picture. It's campy fun. Great soundtrack. That alone pulls it up for me. But it isn't a good film, and I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, so my number 25, Mariska Hargitay to The Love Guru.
Okay.
So it was bad, but it's kind of like the movie 43 thing of like it shakes, like the movie 43 is probably worse, but because it shakes things up, I enjoyed it a little bit more than The Love Guru, which is just tedious.
Yeah, fair. I really am struggling for justifications for some of my next run here. This is based off Letterboxd,
okay.
So
we're all friends here.
I'm sticking to my guns on what I originally Letterboxd it in. So in here is Shining Through for me, which I don't remember. I've honestly sponged it from my brain.
We'll just leap in and condense your 25 and my 26, because mine is also Shining Through. And
Beautiful.
Did we watch that film?
I remember the horse on the street.
Sunflower.
I remember the horse.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say I thought it was a zebra, but yeah.
Zebra.
Exactly,
the zoo goes on the. I remember that one beautifully shot, like Gangs of New York style. Loved
that is it, baby.
But but it is a movie. It is a competently made. It's boring as sin. It is fucking a drag to watch, but it is a movie. It is competently made and pieced together and shot, and everything's there, all the elements of filmmaking. There's just not a film to make.
100%.
So yeah, that's why it's here.
Okay, so you're 26 now.
All right, yes. Color of Night is where I'm at now.
Okay, yeah, those two are very similar.
Yes, I've merged them in my head. The Bruno with his therapy group. I remember, but I wanted to like Color of Night. I thought that was going to be such a...
Yeah.
I was seeing Bruno in Fire Walk with Me based off the cover.
Yeah, same. I was imagining Bruno playing sax on the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's going to be
great. Yeah.
It's going to be great. And it's very disappointing. There is some fun stuff in it, but it's very forgettable. That and Shining Through are two of the ones I've just expunged from my brain completely.
Yeah.
But they are, again, it's a competent movie. It is made, it is shot, it is, there is a movie there. So it's probably why I do blend it in with Shining Through so much.
Yeah, 100%. So my number 27, Inchin. So Inchin was that for me. It was just, I found it more grating than you. And there were those surreal moments of like, am I watching Tiger Tanaka do a one-man assault on like a military base? Yeah, not Tiger Tanaka, no. Who is it? Yojimbo. Am I watching Yojimbo do a one-man assault to the military base?
It's one of them, isn't it? It's got to be Yojimbo or Tiger Tanaka.
Jericho is racist. Great. And it's going to be even worse when I post the socials and people see that I've got a bowl cut and I'm wearing a kimono. I think it's because you just planted the Bond film link in my head. That's my justification for racism. So, yeah. But otherwise, there's also like Larry Olivier doing his big speech. Like, what was that all about? Mm-hmm. So I disliked Inchin more than you, so that's why it's so low for me. So you're 27.
Right. Now I'm grasping here. So I've slotted in Catwoman here, just as it does stand above the rest. But I really don't like Catwoman. I disliked it more than you. There's some bits I don't get it. I don't get the campy appeal for, other than the basketball scene and a couple of bits that stand out. The bad outweighs the fun for me, and not enough. A laugh. I'm not having fun. Maybe it was just in the mood as well. It wasn't the right. I can enjoy Inchin. The days were swapped around. Maybe Inchin would have been miserable for me, but. Yeah, I don't have much to say about Catwoman that we haven't covered, other than I don't like it. And yeah, it exists. It's a nice little time capsule of the mid-2000s. That's about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, my number 28 was The Last Airbender, which there's just nothing to cling to in this film. It's just long and bland, and like Dev Patel reached out a hand as I was slipping away, but my fingers just slipped through his and I was away. Like it's not good.
Yeah, I have next, so I'm gonna merge. My number here was Holmes and Watson, surprisingly.
Oh wow,
Just because when I was thinking of the bad comedies, it made me laugh. Right, it actually did make me laugh. Love Guru didn't, so I had to stick Holmes and Watson just based on my reactions to it. It isn't good. It's terrible. You'll cover it when you get to it, but unfortunately, I'm sticking to my principles. It made me laugh. But after that, I have Last Airbender, which was real bad. Probably enjoyed it more than I expected. I think my expectations were so fucking low that, Dad's here, and there's some, I get it as well, like. I don't know I said before, I don't know anything about the TV show or anything, so I got it, I understood what was going on.
You could follow it.
It was a movie, and it finished. Kid was fine as well, so, there's inoffensive.
Yep. Okay, my number 29, which I've already kind of covered for you, The Lonely Lady. So, I just didn't have as fun a time, and like you said, I fucked my way to the top stands out, rings out, has been reverberating in my head for the past year. But beyond that, it doesn't really, like, it was tedious, and Pia was really bad.
Yes.
Like, Pia is one of the worst actresses that we've covered on this thing. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a fun time watching her. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that, really.
Fair. So, what's your next then?
My next one is number 30, Striptease.
Solo.
Because this film aggravated me. I might be getting it confused with our 3-hour-long episode, but I like Striptease might not have actually been that long, but it felt so long.
It really did.
And like that was the type of thing where I was like, the material is good. I could see this being a good film in someone else's hands, but it's just like what is it? So yeah, Striptease was kind of like the inverse of I Know Who Killed Me, where like both of them were much weirder than I expected. But Striptease, I was prepared for just like a crap erotic thriller, and so when I got that weird like almost like political conspiracy thriller, I was like, this is more interesting, so why is this not good?
That's very fair, though. That is very fair. Yeah, don't disagree with that. My number 38 was, I'm grasping here to see what's better. We're in the dire. Is Alan Smithy, Burn Hollywood Burn.
Okay, wow, yeah.
Which I was looking forward to. I can't lie. Disappointment was a big thing. You know, I love Alan Smithy, the pseudonym and sort of the history behind it. I love Eric Idle. I love Stallone. You know, all these elements are gonna, and nothing plays out. It's so fucking boring. It's so
given the potential, it was such a missed open
goal. On
like,
paper,
it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be cohesive. But because
it's not cohesive. It's compiled together.
They could barely fit in any good jokes. That's what I'm meaning. Like because it's so incohesive, it's like a sketch show, but they just couldn't fit in like any good punchlines.
It's
really.
an outtake album. That's what all it is. It's just great alternative take number 42. Great. Like it's just there's nothing here, and I think the disappointment. Stallone was quite fun in it, but he's barely there, so what's the fucking point? Yeah, no, it's bigness.
Next up, we have number 31, which is Swept Away for me. So this was just a shipwreck of a movie. Like, Madonna's not fun to watch for 2 hours. It's just watching horrible things happen to a horrible person, and it's just... Like we said on our episode, it's shot like a beer commercial. Mm-hmm. It's just utterly crap. And it's like meant to be romantic. And it's like, hey, here's Stockholm Syndrome the movie. Watch a woman fall in love with a rapist. And it's not good.
Yeah, and you know what? It ties nicely with my next pick, which is Gigli himself, which I enjoyed more than Swept Away.
Yeah.
Because Christopher Walken waltzes in and makes me happy for 5 minutes. I liked that it wasn't what I expected. I enjoyed at least it was the crime twist on it. It wasn't the rom-com that was advertised, and that made me, intrigued. I didn't like it. Wouldn't recommend it, but it had something for me. It had something different and memorable in ways. So
true.
It just climbs there just on that merit alone.
Okay, my number 32 is Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. This was long and boring to watch, but at the same time, I have to give it some points for just the scope of you're just watching massive gears clang into each other. And on that basis, I struggle to find anything redeeming about any of the other films below this. So that's just probably why it is where it is. But it was not a fun time. It was a rough watch.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut until I pop up with it. Fair enough.
Cool.
So my pick here to go alongside it is Jack and Jill, which, I still don't like. I still hate it. I don't understand why we diverge so much on this Sandman production. But it's...
Listen, if you can't handle them as Jack and Jill, you don't deserve them as Uncut Gems.
This Tim Herlihy-less entry into the Sandman canon isn't for me. It does have some standout moments. Pacino's great fun in it, and there is some bits that are okay, but wildly different opinions. I've ranked it higher than Swept Away and a few others based on Sandman and Pacino alone. But I don't like this.
Okay, my number 33, it's Turkey Time with Sheely. So, this is just bad, completely misjudged. Like, Beyond Walken's, like, gonna go down to Marie Callender, put some on your head. I really didn't like Sheely. It's just like, Sheely's a good, what were you thinking? What was this supposed to be film? Yeah, it's one of the most head-scratching of all of these films.
Yes.
So you're 33?
Movie 43, which is a nice little
perfect
round. Very similar to Jack and Jill almost for me, whereas I don't like this film. There's bits I smile at. There's one sketch I enjoyed. There's very little for me to talk about, but there's a lot of talent here. A lot of funny people, writers, directors, and like actors, and none of it works out. Obviously, the insidiousness of how it was put together and sort of a lot of favors pulled in. You can have a great album with guest appearances, but when you have to pull in the favors, you need a Slash solo on Favor. It isn't his finest work, and that's kind of how I feel about movie 43. Yeah. It's such a missed opportunity because on paper there's so much talent there, but it's so unfunny and it's It's out of date. It's one of those. It's a Farrelly brother that's 10 years out of time. So yeah, nothing for me in movie 43, but it's here just on names and the one sketch I like.
Okay, my next one, 34, Holmes and Watson. So, like you said, like, Holmes and Watson's another one similar to Alan Smithy. I was like, this is just really, like, the plot is secondary. This is just an opportunity for gags. This should have been like a Mel Brooks, like, Blazing Saddles. Like, you're just parodying a genre.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so bad. Like, beyond the Mind Palace B stuff, like, beyond that, I can't really think of much that made me laugh. It's bad, and it made me resent Will Ferrell for making me watch it.
Fair.
So, yeah.
Up next for me, again, it's a trilogy in a line. Same review. It's Love Guru.
Yeah.
Talented person that makes terrible work. Round 3.
Yeah.
Love Guru is... I don't know why, again, Jack and Jill movie 43 and Love Guru are interchangeable to me. Rank them any way you want.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's... I didn't enjoy it, but here it is.
Yeah, okay. So next up for me, it is 35 Colour of Night. So just to echo what you said, I was expecting this to be like more memorable. I was like, oh, Bruno in a film noir, Bruno in a mystery. This is going to be compelling. This is going to make sense. There will be some weird creative choices made, maybe some ropey performances, but instead we just got that dull, like, self-help group stuff and goofy gimp. Like, no, it's not good. Sneak in a mailbox, I guess, was something, but still, no.
No, just not for you. That is very fair. So up next for me, where am I? Now we're in the death territory. This is a wild pick. I'm going off here, and this is my last one from the 90s, I believe. My favorite decade. It's Ghost Can't Do It. And there's no merit here objectively. There's nothing good about this film. But holy fuck, dude, I laugh so much watching it. It is the funniest, weirdest, just cobbled together, a terrible film that's great to watch with people. A room level film for me was Ghost Can't Do It. I just enjoyed it so much. Yeah. Watching it alone is miserable, but with friends, very specific circumstances, this is a great film to watch, but it's fucking shit. So I have to get all that legal mumbo jumbo out of the way, but yeah, it's here based on my enjoyment of watching it.
Can't really argue. I'll cover my own thoughts when we get to it, but yeah, I agree with your logic. For me, 36, it's Leonard, part 6. So I know what you mean of, like, Leonard has some stuff like the frogs throwing the car off the cliff. That's maybe the most I've laughed at anything.
That alone, you laugh harder at Leonard than you did at movie 43. You know, alone on one thing, one joke.
But listen, Kyle, I'm a little different to you in that I think rape is wrong. And I think that Bill Cosby deserves to be punished and he must answer for his crimes. It's just so... If frogs aren't throwing people off cliffs, and it's so just aggressively unfunny, and like all the Diet Coke product placement, it was just like, it was a really unlikable film. Where I was like you were thinking of like, okay, it made me laugh, but it made me anti-laugh so many times I had to subtract points from its score, just because I was like, oh jeez, it's just like, it's watching, like, I don't know, I haven't seen a stand-up, so Bill Cosby's never been funny for me. Yeah. But, like, on the basis of this, it's just like, everyone knows someone who is just incapable of being funny. Mm-hmm. Like, it does not, like, it's just, humor is an alien concept to them. You can write them the funniest gag in the world, and they're just, that's what Leonard felt like. I was like, oh, jeez, this is so... I'm embarrassed for you.
And yet you said Pluto Nash was worse, though, so...
Yeah, because, like, there were bits in Leonard where I was like, okay, you know what? If Eddie Murphy was in Leonard Part 6, it would be better. Yeah, Eddie Murphy could kind of salvage bits of Leonard Part 6, but Bill Cosby and Pluto Nash, I'm just like, oh my god, that could be... That could be one of the worst films of all time.
Yeah, sure.
So you're 36.
Swept Away. And
Nice.
begrudgingly put Swept Away in here. If it wasn't for the second half of the film, which does have a few laughs and bits that I enjoyed, I hate Swept Away. I could only just on tiny moments put it higher than a few other ones. But yeah, it looks like a commercial. Utter shit performances, utter shit all round. One of my least favourites here, but just on the few specks of enjoyment. When my Italian turns into fucking alpha male, that's funny. But other than that, no, there's nothing for me here. But again, I'm interchangeable now.
So my number 37, Dirty Love. So similar to a lot of my criticisms for Leonard, actually, Jenny McCarthy isn't funny. And
not at all.
while, like you said, bass up the ass, there's some Freddy Got Fingered antics going on around her, but she's just a complete void. Funny shenanigans might be happening, but as soon as Jenny enters the screen, it's just kind of like, oh well, this isn't very funny. Ugh.
Yes. Again, I can't really disagree with that. Dirty Love's coming up, so I'm just going to pull Dirty Love up a slot so I can speak about it as well. One joke that we talked about that made us laugh. Other than that, very, very, very little. I agree 100% with everything you said. She's not funny. She never was funny. To base a film around her is mad.
What was the one joke?
No, it was the falling through the roof. That was the one we both laughed at. Yeah. That's the one joke we both laughed at. So yeah, you got a laugh, whatever. A dirty laugh, but it got one.
Okay, so my number 38 is Cats. Not really much to say that hasn't already been said. Just a complete disaster.
Yeah.
And Jade convinced me that the stage show would have worked, because my only asterisk previously was I was like, okay, this is bad, but I'm not like a huge musical theatre fan. So whenever I watch a bad adaptation, I'm like, is this not just kind of like the thing that you all love normally? Like, what's the difference? But Jade convinced me that this is uniquely bad as an adaptation. So yeah, Cats is a disaster.
Cats is a disaster.
It's an abomination, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to swap two numbers around so I can speak about Cats again. Yeah. Again, we're going to align here following the last line. I fucking hate Cats. I absolutely hate Cats. And I hate the next entry for the same reason. They're ugly films. They're boring and long. And I just...
Yeah.
They're unpleasant to look at, which is one of a cardinal sin for me in cinema. I hate it. It's visually one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. And I hate Cats, so I agree with you there.
My number 39, The Emoji Movie. So it gives you more James Corden than Cats, and so on that basis alone, it has to be ranked lower.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's soulless. The animation's ugly. It's horrible. It makes no sense. It's just irritating. It's not funny. It's truly a disaster. Yeah. Yep. One of the worst films we've watched.
Yes. So my next up is Battlefield Earth, which isn't in the bottom rung because there's still bits like we did talk about. The first bit, half of the film, I imprinted in my brain forever.
Yeah.
And there's creativity there, which although it's a misfire, there is effort, bad effort, and it's a unique, weird fucking thing. It's ugly, it's disgusting, it's boring. But Travolta, that pulls it up a little bit for me. So yeah.
Okay, my number 40, Saving Christmas. So I had the completely different experience to you, where Saving Christmas to me was a chore, because I was like, oh god, if me and you were having mugs devoid of hot chocolate and we were watching it in person, we might have had a completely different time, but watching it in my freezing flat, I was like feeling the antithesis. I was Darren Doan. I was like, you know what? Just don't believe anymore. you were the Kirk Cameron to my Darren Doan, needing to be like, come on, buddy, we're gonna have a little intervention in a car, and by the time you leave, you will feel completely different.
Beautiful.
So you're 40.
My 40 is The Emoji Movie.
Yeah.
My review of it stands the same. It's under 90 minutes. It's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
It's fucking easily quick to watch. You put it on the background, fucking whatever. Yeah. It's got nothing. It's nothing to it. But it exists. Yeah. So, and we watched it.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 41 is Battlefield Earth. So just to kind of echo all of the things that you said about it, It's like it's a disaster. It's bad on the technical level. It's ridiculous, and yeah, like I didn't hate it as much as I expected to going in. Again, like it rose a little in my estimation, but still, that tells you just how bad it was the first time around.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, it's crap.
Right, what have I got next? I am in the bottom tier now. Right. Oh God, this is a surprise. It's a shock. It's Diana the musical for me, sliding in here now. I know I enjoyed it probably more than you did on our first view. And I know it was the first as well, so it holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
I think when I think about it, it's funnier, and that's why I enjoy it. Like, I in my head picturing the Queen, you know, like, oh, this Diana, like, is she good enough for my boy? Like, I play a totally different, funnier version in my head, but it isn't as bad. It's not a movie either, so this is where I'm getting into that category. So yeah, it's in here just on a bit of nostalgia alone.
Yeah, 100% echo that. It's my number 42. So yeah, we can just talk about it now. Yeah, you nailed it though. It isn't a film. The songs are forgettable. The performances are bland. Like beyond this stuff that we invented about like Harry being a bastard and the weird paparazzi wank stuff going on. It shouldn't be here. I resent Mr. Razzie for making me watch it. So you're 42.
Hey, and this again, I'm going to be throwing out curveballs now because people would expect this lower. It's Mommy Dearest, and I fucking hated Mommy Dearest. Based on a few memorable coat hangers and some bits and pieces, is why at least it has some memorable aspect to it. But I cannot stress how much that I am against this film, and I really dislike it. And John Waters is wrong. You're wrong. Everyone's wrong. Yeah, I hate it.
My 43 is Bolero. So maybe I'll just do my 43 and 44 at once, because 44 is Ghost Can't Do It.
Okay.
And I was really torn on what order to have these round, because it's like Ghost Can't Do It is more fun. I agree with your placement
100% more.
of like there's more to mock in Ghost Can't Do It. There's more like what like John had really come into his own of it was just his neuroses were on full display. Yeah. Like his therapist would be very proud with Ghost Can't Do It. Whereas Bolero was more insufferable because it was just more dull. Like, and the honey scene, like by all rights, Bolero should be lower than Ghost Can't Do It. But the moral, I'm turning all Mr. Razzie. I can't separate art from artist. The moral ick of John fantasizing about possessing a younger man so he can continue to fuck his wife, when by all rights he should be gone from this earth. He should be burning in hell. That made me put it lower, because Bolero, if the Derricks who made Bolero invited me to dinner, I'd be like, okay, cool, they're a couple who just want to share a little bit more of their sex life, then they're just exhibitionists who love each other, whatever. If the Derricks who made Ghost Can't Do It invited me to dinner, I'd be terrified, because I would imagine some Get Out scenario where they're going to steal my soul and possess me. So yeah, what's your 43?
It syncs up beautifully because it's Bolero.
Yeah.
Based on it, like, forget, I didn't enjoy Bolero. I have nothing nice to say. Apart from, Ghost Can't Do It much better, much more enjoyable for me. Bolero, very, very forgettable. Very boring. Yeah, I had nothing nice to say about it. He hasn't peaked yet, Big John. He's still got his masterpiece to come. So yeah, I hate Bolero.
Yeah. And you're 44
because my last two are not movies. Yeah. Spoilers. Here comes Transformers.
Yeah.
It is my bottom. As if we're just going on movies, this was my bottom.
Yeah. You did hate it.
I can't, like, and there's, I understand what you're saying about, like, the scale, the getting to play with your Legos and, have your imagination sprawled out. and you know what, like, there's parts of the film, too, that I can go, oh, that's quite cool, that's okay, but I physically can't watch the movie, which is why it has to be so low. My head is spinning, I get a headache from this cutting style, just the mess on screen that's happening in my eyes. My brain won't process it. If John Ford did it, then maybe. If it was 7-minute takes, then we're talking. But nothing here for me. I hate it. It's disgusting. It's annoying. It's like being in the waltzers, but like you've got the flu and you just every part of you wants to die. I cannot stand this movie.
You're right. In the most literal sense, this is the hardest to watch of all of the films. Yeah, I don't disagree. Okay, so we have the same bottom
we
two.
do indeed.
So 45. We are taking a trip to the dystopian reality of Hillary's America.
And we've synced up beautifully. Hillary's America. What can we say that we've not said already?
Yeah.
It's a mess. It's not a film. It's a one-man rampage.
Yeah, for the sitting duck of Hillary Clinton, the fact that you can miss so terribly is Dinesh.
Yes, but Dinesh, he did put some, something into it. That's why it's slightly higher.
There's production value. It's closer to being a film than the bottom place.
That's why it's in the playoffs and not the automatic relegation spot, because just on that little graft hard work alone. But yeah, it's such a miss. It's so disappointing and not funny enough either. Yeah, it's terrible.
And so, without further ado, the universal worst film of watching worst films is number 46, Absolute Proof.
Yeah, absolutely.
The My Pillow Guy movie.
The My Pillow, Mike Lindell in his finest hour. Yeah, other than cocaine energy and tapping a pen like a maniac and fidgeting. When that's your highlights, there is nothing. This nearly broke me. Nearly the one
we watched this together, and thank God we did, because
I wouldn't have been able to finish it alone.
No,
first time, just fuck it. Let's just turn it off and say we watched it.
Yeah.
But no, we did fucking go through it. Awful. Yeah. It's not a movie. It's barely a YouTube fucking video. It's so shoddy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And there's nothing of interest. There's not one thing, one spec, one bit of information, a sketch, anything. There's nothing. It's just this coked up fucking con man behind a desk screaming at you for 2 hours. Yeah. What more can you say?
Yeah, nothing. You've nailed it. All I can really add is that, fittingly for the bottom place film, equal credit has to go to the villain of this podcast, Mr. Razzie, for making us watch it.
100%.
Because it isn't a film.
It's not.
And granted, it's the pandemic. He was working with less of a stacked deck. But still, like, music or something, this just is so not a film. Like, why on earth did you legitimize this? Like, why? But it's just a real soapbox if he wants to say Donald Trump bad.
Yeah, but by so ironically, like, by putting this on a platform, you are giving exposure to Mike Lindell, who would have been nobody. Yeah. Like, you are part of the problem, Mr. Razzie, by
Absolutely.
By spreading it around. This shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be spoken about. Yeah. Like, if you're breaking the rules for a pandemic, then dig into a TV movie or a straight to DVD or something like VOD.
100%.
But yeah, absolute shambles. Absolute.
Yeah. Welcome back to the middle section of the podcast, as I have some interesting shit has come to light, Tyler, which I am keen to share with you. So, one piece is an interview with Mrs. Brown.
Ooh, okay.
Where we get to hear more about the genius of comedy that is Mrs. Brown. So, Mrs. Brown speaks about offense.
Of course.
It's an interview on snowflakes who get offended by her representation of homosexuality. Brandon also dismisses accusations of homophobia because of the portrayal of Rory, Mrs. Brown's third son, whose sexuality she describes as an illness. He explained, "The thing is, Mrs. Brown doesn't understand any of that. She has a gay son, but she doesn't really know what gay means or about gay culture. I remember doing a radio show, and a gay chap rang in saying the portrayal of gays in comedy is terrible. The way that comedians do an effeminate voice when they're doing a gay joke. I said, they've got to put the picture in people's minds, and sometimes the only way you can really portray somebody gay is to have an effeminate voice. And he said, I just don't think it's funny. So I said, can you tell me a gay joke that you would not find offensive? And he said, two gays mug an old woman. One holds her down, and the other one does her hair.
Jesus.
I fucking pissed myself laughing and said, that's funny. But here's the thing. Holding down an old woman isn't fucking funny. Mugging an old woman isn't fucking funny. What is fucking funny is bullying gay people. Not all gays are hairdressers, and not all hairdressers are gay. Where do you want me to stop? Which, I don't know. I know we spoke last week about how he's meant to be a member of Mensa, but honestly, every interview you read with the guy, you're just like, you are as thick as a pile of bricks. Because...
And that's it. And you know what? Like, fucking Mensa means nothing. You know, that's something, that's like, oh, I scored on that IQ test of, like, fuck off, you know?
Yeah, exactly. The least intelligent people in the world are the ones who speak about their IQ the most. And I could say that, as I have an IQ of 94.
Double digits, my man.
There's also some controversy around a racist joke which Brendan made on the One Show. He was asked, so he was on the One Show with Tyler Perry to promote A Medea Homecoming, and he was asked if Tyler would be on Mrs. Brown, and he said, he's very expensive, and so far we haven't had anyone of his colour in there.
Ooh. I mean, you could have just stopped with he's too expensive. Boom. You don't.
Yeah.
Please don't bring in the race. Fuck. Please, Mrs. Brown.
Brendan was asked by the BBC if he wanted to apologise, and he said, I didn't. The essence of the movie is that Mrs. Brown doesn't understand colour. You'd never see a person of colour in her environment. Tyler got it, he laughed, I laughed. So, just that's the ultimate get out, is like whenever he says anything, whenever Brendan says anything racist or homophobic, he's just like, well, you know, the thing is that Mrs. Brown doesn't see colour.
Doesn't see race, yeah.
Doesn't see sexuality.
Fucking hell.
But, yeah, just wanted to stop in with the star of our last special. So, we've left the stinkers behind, but on the New Year's episode with Marnie, I discovered a potential heir to their throne, which are the awards from the Alliance of Women Film Journalists.
Okay.
And they have just released their awards for this last year.
Oh, okay.
And so I have a couple that I'm wanting to read out to you. Most egregious lovers' age difference.
Oh, okay.
Nominees: Killers of the Flower Moon, Leo DiCaprio, 49, and Lily Gladstone, 37. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Tom Cruise, 61, and Hayley Atwell, 41. Poor Things, Mark Ruffalo, 56, and Emma Stone, 35. And the winner, Oppenheimer. Cillian Murphy, 47, Florence Pugh, 27. Okay, so far be it from man to defend age gap relationships, but Mark Ruffalo is meant to be a predator in Poor Things. That's the point of him. And equally in Oppenheimer, that's the real life age gap. So, retrospectively, J. Robert Oppenheimer, as if you haven't done enough. As if unleashing the potential of nuclear Armageddon.
Your real original sin was dating a younger woman.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Prometheus dating a woman 20 years his junior.
I'm glad they didn't have their rankings when Richard Gere was a leading man. You know, fucking,
or God forbid, Roger Moore.
Roger, Kevin Costner, like, the 80s, 90s run. You've missed out here, guys.
So other fun categories: She Deserves a New Agent. Note, this is not a put down. On the contrary, it suggests that the actress is better than the role she's been given. So nominees: Ana de Armas for Ghosted, Nia Vardalos, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. What on earth has Nia Vardalos done to show that she has?
Yeah.
Like, she's only in the Greek wedding movies, isn't she? Reese Witherspoon, Your Place or Mine. But the winners, Toni Collette for Mafia Mama, and Candice Bergen, Jane Fonda, Diane Keaton, and Mary Steenburgen for Book Club: The Next Chapter. And then the one which I the one which I really want to discuss. They give their Waster remake or sequel to Exorcist Believer,
Damn
so
right.
you're
My
on
happy
board
boy.
now, I'm sure.
I was on.
But they also have their Hall of Shame award,
Ooh.
which is like the Mr. Razzie bad behavior award.
Does this go back how far?
This is last year.
Okay, so no retroactively going back. Cool.
No. So the nominees are Drew Barrymore for resuming her show during the WGA strike, resulting in 3 writers leaving the show. Greta Gerwig for crossing WGA and SAG picket lines. She's a member of both, and although not an actor in Barbie, she co-wrote it to promote Barbie, claiming she was just a non-striking director. Her co-writer, Noah Baumbach, respected the picket line. Media gave her a free pass, while black director Justin Simien, not a member of any striking guild, was given flack for attending the Disney premiere of his film The Haunted Mansion. Shame on Greta.
Fuck.
Jonathan Majors for domestic violence. Danny Masterson sentenced to 30 years to life in prison after being found guilty of raping 2 women. And then the award goes to the AMP, TP, and studio heads for their despicable behavior concerning the WGA and SAG-AFTRA negotiations and strikes. So,
wow.
Greta Gerwig in good company with a domestic abuser and a rapist,
wow,
who also haven't won.
Oh my god, fucking hell! You can't hold Greta up for Barbie and be this feminist icon and then slander her for promoting the movie for women, for them to go see. Like, what the fuck do you want? Yeah. Jesus.
And it's like, Noah Baumbach maintained the picket. Yeah, because Noah Baumbach didn't direct the movie. He was a writer, so he would have been crossing the picket line if he did. But, like, honestly.
Jesus.
Like, yeah, I know that Justin Simien probably got shit because he was the only person there. But, like, every single director promoted their movie.
And rightfully so,
Well, apart from things like... Even Bradley Cooper did like Maestro and things. They didn't maybe do it to the same extent,
one
but
man
like
tour for Killers, like
yeah, exactly.
Fincher had to get rolled out for the count. Like you have to come out of hiding, David. We need to speak to you. Like, you got to.
So just like
fuck off.
So bizarre to single out Greta Gerwig when you have Danny Masterson and Jonathan Majors sitting there, and then you're like, oh yeah, serial rapist Danny Masterson.
30 years.
You know what he didn't do? He didn't stiff writers. He's not trying to rape women using AI.
Wow.
Honestly, like that's real Mr. Razzie behavior. So we've spoken about Mr. Razzie's difficulties with strong female characters, so maybe an alliance with the women film journalists is
match made in heaven, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, and so we are now back with part 2. So my first one, I think the best ceremony is Inchin, 1982. Pia Zadora wins for Butterfly. We get Woodsy Allen's first appearance with Mia Farrow being nominated. Then 1996, Striptease wins. We get a win for Pauly Shore. Number in 1998, Alan Smithy wins. Can't really fault anything there. Similarly, 2009, Transformers 2 wins. Nothing to say, just kind of your classic Razzie year. 2000, Battlefield Earth sweeps. Yeah. 2001, Freddy Got Fingered, but like no egregious errors in other categories. Then we have 1999, Wild Wild West, which I might not agree with, but like looking at the other categories, I only really object to the presence of my beloved Phantom Menace. 2002, Swept Away, but Georgie boy Lucas also wins for Attack of the Clones. So in 1984, I give them points for Bolero, but negative points for De Palma with his nomination for Scarface, it might have been. And then in 1983, points for The Lonely Lady, but negative points for De Palma. Then 2014, Saving Christmas. 2015, 50 Shades, Fantastic Four, sure. But Paul Blart 2, I think, is worse than both of them. 1990, Ghost Can't Do It, but Trump won,
Trump did
and
win.
I maintain he is one of the best performers in Ghost Camp.
He is.
And Sofia Coppola also picked up a bunch of
Yeah.
wins for The Godfather. Then in 1989, Star Trek.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is my year.
Went a little too hard for Star Trek.
That's
your year?
That's my year. And it's
Take it away.
Of course it is. I mean, again, I said before at the start, Star Trek was my favorite picture. I think it's the best one other than Blonde. So pre-2022 is by far the best. But the actual ceremony is a joke this year. And I remember this is the one that fucking enraged me when I look at it, when we talked about it. Because even all the noms, and I've got them up here, you know, Karate Kid Part 3, Lock Up, fucking Roadhouse, and then Speed Zone.
Yeah.
Like, other than Speed Zone, the one I haven't seen. But, you know, you gushed about Lock Up. Karate Kid Part 3 is fine compared to what a Razzie should be. Roadhouse is fucking great. You know, there's just so many misses here this year. Again, he's going for Stallone, he's going for Swayze, like, picking random actresses out of random films. That's a very good example this year of Return of Swamp Thing. Just fuck it, Heather Locklear gets it. And it's also 3 out of 3 of probably like the worst picks for worst original song. Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter being a huge hit for Iron Maiden, and Pet Sematary being a huge hit for Ramones kind of makes me go, well, this isn't fucking...
Let me tell you, Cal, I don't want to be buried in the Pet Cemetery.
A song everyone knows 30 years later. You know, this has to be fucking Whoop, There It Is. This needs to be Conehead songs. Like, overall, I this is just miss. This is early. This is the 10th one, so there's no fucking, you know, rot that he has in later. You should still be fresh. You should still be... There's so much from 1989 to fucking punch at, and you miss every single one. Like, that's a joke. the Razzies could have imploded here. This is my point of they've no credibility 10 years in.
You haven't left your first decade and already.
And well, that's the other part. That's my little addendum here. Is they've also got the worst of the decade on this year, which are obviously Stallone winning for fucking Rocky 4.
An embarrassment.
Yeah, like there's Pia Zadora picking up. It's a mess. So yeah, no, like
okay, we know you're a Pia stan.
The 10th one is my worst one, and it stands out to me by a mile. I don't have any more to add on that.
Okay, so to continue with my list, 1992, Shining Through, nothing to say. 2007, I Know Who Killed Me, nothing to say really. 1986, Under the Cherry Moon, and Howard. The reason this is down is because they nominate Stallone for Cobra.
Yeah.
In fact, I think he wins for Cobra, and they nominate Cobra's picture.
Yeah.
I think. Just the presence of Cobra. I enjoyed Cobra. I like Cobra. It shouldn't be here.
Yes, I mean I agree with it. This is a poor year as well. Like, looking back, I agree with that.
Yeah. 2019, Cats, which on the face of it is a nothing kind of year, but The Fanatic is also present that year, which Fanatic perhaps should have got a little bit more love. But the really egregious error that year was Eddie Murphy beating the Sandman to the Redeemer.
Yes. Yeah, that was shocking.
Yeah. Once in a lifetime performance from the Sandman, and it goes unacknowledged for a fine. Dolomite is my name. Then 2012, Twilight dominated, but Jersey Shore in Three Stooges were nominated for like worst combo or something, and I was like, you cannot tell me that Jersey Shore... I think it went to like Mackenzie Foy and Kristen Stewart or something. It wasn't Pattinson and Stewart, but I'm like, you cannot tell me that Jersey Shore were not worse than the cast of Twilight.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Then 1994, Color of Night, but it did have that Interview with the Vampire win, so it's coming down.
It's one of the biggest fucking misfires from the Razzies for wins. You know, a nom gets forgotten about, whatever. You laugh about it, but a win is outrageous. It really is.
Yeah. And then in 2013, Movie 43, which on the face of it is fairly well deserved, but Gay Dirty Harry, which is the worst Movie 43, did not win. And you get the Smiths' presence for After Earth, which I think is probably well deserved. 1989, Cocktail, nothing else to say.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
2006, real drop of the ball when they had Basic Instinct 2 win over Little Man, because he recognized the Wayans, but Little Man is abhorrent.
Yes.
And I have a lot of memories of Little Man in a way that I do not remember Basic Instinct 2. I'm still rinsing the stink of the little man out of my mouth and off my eyeballs. Then 2020, a boring pandemic year. He gave us Absolute Proof, and music doesn't win. Music and actual
that's
film.
the Sia one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sia.
yeah. So in 1985, that was the mega Rambo Stallone year, which he kind of fucked it, and he also nominated Godzilla as best new star. I can only hope that Godzilla isn't turning up for Godzilla -1 next year.
The Redeemer Award.
Honestly, that would redeem Mr. Razzie in my eyes if he gave Godzilla the Redeemer Award. Then in 2003, he goes for Gigli over The Real Cancun and From Justin to Kelly, which were two of the lowest rent, worst things I watched. 2017, The Emoji Movie, well done, but he goes for Tom Cruise and he doesn't recognize James Corden, which
that was
wild.
Mother year as well, wasn't it? 2017.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
When Aronofsky's picking up his novels. Yeah, that's
true. Yeah,
outrageous.
Yeah, and then in 2008, Holmes and Watson, which on the face of it, well deserved, but we get loads of nonsense Trump wins.
Yes.
That's just when he pads it out with Trump's entire cabinet. So then in 1981, Mommy Dearest won, but we did get the Michael Cimino Heaven's Gate win. Which real embarrassment.
Yep. And Christopherson as well that year, I believe. I can't remember if he won it, but that pissed me off at the time.
Yeah. Then in 1991, we got Hudson Hawk, but we also got Julia Roberts for Hook. So, I'm a Hook fan.
I'm a hooker. Always a hooker.
Then in 2016, Hillary's America, but Jesse Eisenberg playing Max Landis was the only acting win for Batman vs. Superman. He's the best performance.
The most entertaining performance.
Yeah, well, beyond Michael Shannon's corpse.
Yeah. My highlight.
And then in 1987, Leonard won, but Elaine May also won Worst Director for Ishtar, and I can't be having that. 2008, The Love Guru won over Disaster Movie and The Hottie and the Naughty, which is just absolutely wild. Yep. 1993, of course, that Indecent Proposal win. That's enough on its own. 2010, so this is one of the ones I'm most thankful for because you gave it to Avatar: The Last Airbender over Sex and the City and Vampires Suck, which could have been painful.
Blessed. I would watch Airbender 3 times over and not see a thing, and not remember a thing before I'd watch the others. Yeah, that's a lucky escape.
Okay, so 2005 is a very personal year for me because he gives it to Dirty Love, but he does give a Razzie to Hayden Christensen in Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. that was me turning to the dark side because I think he's, if you're gonna say he's bad, which I maintain you shouldn't, I think he's worse in Attack of the Clones than he is in Revenge of the Sith.
I agree with that 100 times over, 1,000,000 times over. No debate there.
This also saw wins for Bewitched with Will Ferrell for Bewitched and Kicking and Screaming. And then War of the Worlds. Tom Cruise was nominated for War of the Worlds, which is one of my favourite films of his. Then in 1998, it went to The Postman, which, bad enough, but then also Batman and Robin had the most awards.
Batman and Robin sweeping it, I remember that. That is outrageous. Both great.
Yeah. Then 2011, Jack and Jill sweep, which on the face of it can't maybe argue.
I'm not arguing
which I can't
it.
argue with too much, but it's more the omissions of we don't have WE, we don't have Showgirls 2, we don't have all the films that we like. Remember when we were just like, oh, that was 2011.
Yeah,
that was 2011.
There's a great fucking dirge of just terrible shit that came out in 2011 and all skipped up. But again, I do argue it's hard. Jack and Jill impact on the world compared to Showgirls 2. Maybe a bigger sin when more people see it.
Yeah. Then in 1995, Showgirls.
Nah.
just disagree with everything about
100%.
that. And also how heavy he went for Showgirls.
And it lingered on as well. Like it's the reason we got striptease. Yeah, like fucking absolutely.
Yeah. Then 2007, he went Catwoman over Baby Geniuses 2. Baby Geniuses 2 is still contender for one of the worst films I have ever seen, and Catwoman probably isn't the worst superhero film I've ever seen. No. So yeah, that's not right. Then in 2021, we had The Victory for Diana, which was just Netflix crap, and he missed out on Dear Evan Hansen, which I think is much more deserving of a legacy.
Definitely.
Then in 2022, Blonde and Jared Leto. So like he's finally recognizing Jared Leto, but yeah, Blonde. And in my opinion, the worst Razzie year was the inaugural Razzies of 1981, as this is when they went real hard for Cruising, and they also nominated Stanley Kubrick for The Shining. Yes. So Friedkin and Kubrick shat the bed straight out of the gates. Well, no coming back.
That's it. I mean, I just pulled it up quickly, and you're right. De Palma, Friedkin, and Kubrick all getting nominated shows you where the world stands. It is the throw it at the wall. It is the very stinkers version of the Razzies, of multiple ones, as we did cover on the episode. But yeah, you know, you are nominating some big names and some Xanadu, you know, getting pulled through the dirt. Like, yeah, not having it. Yeah, it's a very bad year. Very bad start as well.
Yeah.
So on the journey, and I was thinking of this on the worst pictures. And I think there's worse so I've merged supporting actors and leads. I'm much like the Razzies themselves. Yeah. So this was it was incredibly hard trying to like break down the worst actors. Obviously, Mr. Razzie guns for Travolta and Stallone and Sandler and all my favorites. So, and Bruno's obviously popped up, and I did think about Bruno because the films he were in I did hate for the most part. Maybe Hudson Hawk saved the day. But he gave terrible performances. So I was thinking about him, and I was trying to avoid, you know, Valentine's Day, the ensemble ones where people just phone it in. And I think and I'm not counting Mike Lindell. He would have stolen it 100% right at the end. Yeah. But he's not an actor unless that's the greatest performance I've ever seen in my life. So I did struggle, and I'm sorry for it. I think it's because he annoyed me so much, and I don't like him in the best of times. But Ben Affleck's probably my pick, which is shocking, I know. But he popped. I hated him in Chile, and I like Chile for the most part. Yeah. The fact when he keeps recurring up, I just he's my probable example of who I would have been laser focusing on if I was Mr. Razzie. Yeah. But I was Cosby's here. I have him, but he's not that bad, you know. And I was like, he's not funny, but he at least has a screen presence. I really struggled here. John Derrick's here, obviously, and the old man from Ghost Can't Do It is probably the worst performance. John Derrick. Who's the old guy in...
Was never in front of camera.
No. I always do that in my head.
It was a surrogate.
He was the surrogate in below. The surrogate John Derrick.
Playing the role of John Derrick.
Okay, I'm going to change my answer. I changed my answer to the surrogate John Derricks from both Ghost Can't Do It and Bolero.
Shared award.
It's a shared award. I'll give you 2. Absolutely. But for Power Punch, again, not done by a John Derrick on a minor budget. I'm going bigger scale. I've got Affleck as my big name. Surrogate John Derrick's is my other award. What have you got? Who was the worst for you?
Okay, so just wheeling through real quick. I agree with you. Mike Lindell, you kind of have to disqualify as not giving a performance, just being a man on camera. Similarly with Donald Trump for Fahrenheit 9/11, 11/9, whatever it was. I want to pay lip service to Rob Schneider in Juice Bigelow. Yeah. But I've never seen either of the Juices.
So you can't.
So I can't really, like, I can imagine it's dreadful, but I can't comment on something I haven't seen. Pauly Shore. I saw Pauly Shore win for 1995 in Jury Duty, which I kind of quite enjoyed. And then I saw Pauly Shore in 1996 for Biodome, which is one of the most annoying performances I've ever seen. But I think my winner, you called him out. It has to be John Travolta as Moose in The Fanatic.
Yeah, because The Fanatic didn't win. And like cropping up Travolta obviously for The Fanatic, obviously. But I think I was focused in on, you have to have the worst picture to be the worst actor. I have to have watched you for this fucking podcast for the podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have to. I'm going for Battlefield Earth is basically the Travolta money you can have.
Yeah. Then I guess if you're making me do that, do I do Dinesh? Which, like, Dinesh is playing more of a... he's not exactly playing himself. He's playing, like, a hard man. He's playing Andy Dufresne.
Yes, yeah. Dinesh's performance is more acted than Lindell's. Lindell's is cocaine energy, whereas Dinesh is prepped a little bit. He's rehearsed what he's saying. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not spewing out words.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right, so I mean, worst actress. I think we'll be unanimous here.
Don't bother looking. It's Bo Derek.
Bo Derek first place. Bo Derek's worst actress. Like I again, my only thing I can say is it makes Pia look great, and Pia sucks.
If you had to recognize her for one film, what would it be?
Bo is worse in Ghost Can't Do It than Bolero. 100%.
I would have said the same.
She has to carry more dialogue. She has to speak off screen to someone that's not there, and she can't do it. Like, Bo Derek fucking struggles.
That line of "That's kinky stuff, Scott. We're not kinky. We've never been kinky" is just stuck in my head. So yeah, Bo Derek absolutely, and then
I'm shouting out Madonna as well. Nothing came here for me. Again, if you're not in a John Derek production and you have money behind you, I have much less sympathy if you're in a real movie. So yeah, that's my second place. So yeah, Bo and John, the surrogates of John and Bo, well deserved winners here. The truest Razzies. I also
my second place, the Golden Raspberry Awards for their victory last year.
Fantastic. I have worst director as well. So my two worst pictures, and they're both big names. Yeah. So no John Derek's here. Yeah. I have to say, just because I fucking hated it and it was my worst one, Michael Bay. And I have a caveat, I have an asterisk, because I understand your arguments pro Transformers and pro Bay. So having all the toys, playing with your Lego, sort of the creativity, I get it. But the direction, just on direction alone, that is including directing Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox. That is putting your brain vision into a coherent thing. I blame him. I can't watch your movie. So you are that alone. But I do have that little asterisk. I do understand. I have some sympathy. I have no sympathy for my joint winner / number 2, Guy Ritchie, for Swept Away. Which that's a good one. Because he is a capable director too. He is competent. He can, even if I don't like his style of movies, he can do stylish. He can make movies. I always say this looks like a fucking commercial. This is a disgusting film. Poorly directed, poorly visualized, everything from storyboard to action, everything sucks, and he should do better. He wrote it as well, so like, fuck right off. This is your baby, your adaptation, and you just, it's awful. So that's why they're worse than John, because John's resources and John's own abilities are never going to get better than Bolero. That's the peak, probably. So these are people that are capable, and that pisses me off more. Like, there's less excuse then, and I wanted to. They deserve it. So it's another joint one for me. But they're my two.
Yeah, my rationale very similar to yours. Of like, I don't think it's Dinesh, because I think Dinesh made exactly the film he was setting out to make in Hillary's America. If I was to try and direct Hillary's America to fulfill Dinesh's wishes, I'd make all the same decisions. Like, I think he's wrong in the tack that he takes.
I don't know. I think you can snap it up. You know, I think if we get some YouTube editing skills in there and we speed it up and TikTok it and make it quicker. Pokemon Go to the polls, we could do a really good, quicker one. I think it'd be harder to get Lindell's thoughts directed together. Dinesh, I could do.
I grouped those two together. I was like, Lindell and Dinesh, I'm actually not going to harp on them as directing, because like, I think they kind of executed what they were going for. That was where I saw Lindell wasn't even nominated for Worst
No, I
Director.
mean, the film was terrible, but his direction, 10 out of 10, you know. God.
Yeah. Give this man a budget. What could he do on a larger scale? It's such a great showcase for his skills as director. So, of course, 2020, Lindell was defeated by my beloved Music and Sia, and that's absolutely dreadful and completely misjudged and a squandering of all kinds of resources. But the worst for me has to go to Tom Hooper for Cats. Of infinite resources, and he just pisses it all up the wall.
I'm not going to argue with that.
It creates a nightmare.
I go with your...
It's honestly a producer's level farce.
I go with, I think I would end up doing a Nightmare. I couldn't direct Cats.
Yeah.
Maybe you could. I couldn't. Mine would be a stop motion horror film, but I
would rather see it than that.
If you have
Make it like
budget,
Henry Selick's Cats.
It's just
better than the CGI.
It's an abomination.
CGI bulge.
Very good. So yeah, I just have a few final thoughts and notes just on our journey as well. What I've learned, which isn't much. And sort of the experience on the way.
The brain cells we've lost along the way.
I didn't expect this journey to be like this. I don't know what I expected. I expected worse for the most part, and we did watch a lot of fucking shit here. It changed my assumption, my naive assumption that there were going to be what I picture Razzie movies to be, the Garbage Pail Kids and the Addams Family 3 or whatever, 4 straight to DVD. Like, I thought they would end up Lion Kings 2. We'd just get some real rough stuff rather than some big films. And I don't think that, like, I know I like to think like Mr. Razzie and try and put my brain in like a hack, but there isn't much rhyme or reason when you actually look back on them, other than his targets, the ones he's focused on that will get attacked. Sometimes he's the most feminist liberal man in the world. Other times he's he's focusing on children and ripping them to shreds, and he's so fucking. And I know it's a committee, and I know there's multiple fucking pricks voting for this thing, but he's responsible. It's his name. He gets to choose at the end of the day. So as I've gone through this, I think I've turned on the Razzies way more than I expected. I thought there would be a lot more endearingness to them, some sort of like tongue-in-cheek, less vindictive hate. I thought they'd be funner, and you imagine that's what they would be. Less mean and less. There's just something about them now that when I think about it, I don't understand it. And obviously we live in a post-2016 world, so the Razzies are fucked forever. We'll never really get that sort of punching at both sides equally is out the window. Yeah. So I think that's just it. I just think I'm soured on how much the Razzies as a ceremony and stuff suck. Like, the second part's, it's so fun for me and trying to guess and work out who's here and stuff, but really, they're really just cherry pick random ones, 8 different categories for the women, because I'm not going to watch women on film. It's just losing the worst original song and then bringing in random fucking categories, like not having consistency. All this annoyed me so much more than I think it should have. And that's it, just be a bit more fucking professional and also have a bit more fun. And the Razzies could be something that are, relevant rather than this geriatric.
This is our smallest change that can make the biggest difference to the Razzie ceremony.
Well, it is. It really is. Again, you can be more. You can be wrong as well, but I obviously think the worst picture of the year is fairly obvious. Most years you can have a debate that maybe this one's worse, maybe that one's worse, but you shouldn't be nominating and making Blonde and stuff like that. That is insane. Yeah. It's a man that doesn't seem to understand movies. I'd like to know what he likes. I'd like to know his picks of what
I would love
what he enjoys.
Like we said with the stinkers of the stinkers just nominate things across the board where you're like, there's nothing they can possibly like. But as you said, I think that's because they are genuinely a diverse array of people. Whereas Stinkers Mr. Razzie is more singular, where you're like, what does he like beyond reruns of I Love Lucy?
Yeah, so that was basically, I never thought I'd have this sort of resentment against Mr. Razzie and everything. Kind of what I think about it is a bunch of Reddit, basically, like, I just imagine being so close-knit and just so snidey and hipstery, and I hate it. I just hate the thought of the Razzies.
We saw a little bit of that sanctimony in the comments that I read out a couple weeks back, where they were discussing, they're like, no, listen, we can't be back in the firing line after our faux pas with, like, it's just, they're so self-serious.
That's it. Like,
for an award made out of fucking trash spray-painted gold, you'd think they'd have a little more of a, like, I don't know, an anarchist spirit to them, but instead they're...
Which is what I go for. That's why I think the smallest change I make to make the Razzies better is make your have ceremonies. Like, rent out a fucking cinema screen if you have to. That costs nothing, $100 or something.
Pauly Shore to host.
Yeah, boom, you can do have fun. We can riff on it. Yeah, get winners to come in and watch the
film. If it's more affectionate,
we'll watch the worst picture.
Fun,
and we'll have fun. We'll give out awards. Q&A with the winner. Yeah, we can have fun. But it's not. It doesn't have that. It has such more of a snarkiness.
It's come forth, child, and receive your spanks across the bottom from Mr. Razzie, who we swear isn't enjoying this.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say. It's been fun though. I've had a thoroughly good time. I'm glad we managed to keep with it and it didn't capitulate.
We did it.
Have you got any thoughts on the end of this journey? What have you learned?
I'm similar to you. I guess I was prepared a little bit better by doing the Oscars, because that's the thing, is like, just as with the Oscars, I wasn't going into it expecting it to be the best films of the year. And it just led to me getting mad at all these things of like, why is Crash winning? Why is Driving Miss Daisy winning? Why have you switched best actor to the last award of the night because you think it's going to Chadwick Boseman, and whoops, it's going to Anthony Hopkins now. So long, everyone. It's exactly. Like the awards themselves can never like live up to your expectations of them, because there is just no objectivity in these things. So I went into a bit more relaxed in that regard. And I just kind of saw the same thing I saw as the Oscars, of like, this is going to be a fun journey to go on. At the end, I will have seen a bunch of movies that I never would have watched, and I've been exposed to a whole bunch of experiences, which I'm grateful for, because I'd never seen a Bo Derek film before. No. Whereas now, it's a punchline to every third joke I make.
I do think this, the one thing at the end for both of us is ever do a pub quiz. This is going to have our trivia through the roof. We Piazzadola, I got you guys. Both are films.
Honestly, man. Me and my brother had been doing that little Cine 2 Nerdle game where you have to link people. Like, it gives you a film and you need to see another film that is connected with a cast member, and I have just been like fucking dominating because some guy went Nicolas Cage and I was like, I think I did Joe or something, a David Gordon Green film, and he's like, oh, Nicolas Cage, Left Behind, and I was like, you have just wandered down a one-way Kirk Cameron alley, my friend. And so I got on with Saving Christmas, and there was just no way out. And so they can do a reverse thing where if they can't name anything, they send it back to you. And I was like, well, little did you know, Darren Doan was actually in Newsies, so I do have an escape out of this. And then, like, same thing with my comprehensive knowledge of Bo Derek, which no one else shares. They're like, oh yeah, Tommy Boy. And I'm like, yes, you know Tommy Boy, but did you also know Ghost Can't Do It on Bolero? No, thought not.
Fantastic, that's amazing.
So, yeah. So, listeners to the show, if you want to play us on Cine 2 Nerdle, whatever it's called,
I'll happily join in.
Put our usernames out on social media.
Absolutely.
We'll have a game where we'll just go around with Pauly Shore, who can name the most Pauly Shore films. Yeah. So that's this film. This quest has given us weird practical skills. I guess it hasn't been a waste.
It has not been a waste.
Mum, these hours have been worthwhile. I know I
been.
could have done
So much more, but I had to watch Ghost Can't Do It. I had to see Swept Away.
Yeah.
I didn't have to see
Everyone
Mrs. Brown's
who-
Boy, but I did it extra credit.
Yeah. Everyone who has criticized me for dedicating hours of my life, like, I'm sorry I can't do that. I have to edit the podcast. Jericho, do you have to edit the podcast, or do you want to edit the podcast? It's all been vindicated because I have skills, a particular set of skills. So yeah,
That's us.
that is it. So it's no secret. We've kind of been dropping references to it. This is kind of the end. And the fellowship of the Razzie, though eternally bound by friendship and love, was ended. So yeah, we've been doing this a long time, and at the very least, we need a break because this has been like a rigorous schedule. Yeah. So like, who knows? I don't know what we'll do in the future. Might come back with specials.
There's always going to be a Razzie ceremony every year. So we'll never disappear entirely. And who knows? There could be a new song. There could be a different version. Something in the future. But
yeah, something might inspire us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there might be a Steven Seagal retrospective. The long-awaited Caligula special may occur next time I'm in Aberdeen.
Absolutely, will be happening.
So that is the end for the podcast as a going weekly concern. But as Kyle said, we will be back as long as the Razzies continue to draw breath.
Yeah,
we will be there.
We will be there.
So we're going to be taking a big hiatus, and we will be returning to you week after next with our Razzie preview show. So they just released the long list today, and I had to avert my eyes.
Yeah, I haven't
because
seen
I don't
nothing.
want to.
Haven't touched anything. Don't follow anything. I'll stay clear.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing the same thing as we did last year. So we'll have a part 1 where we go in completely blind and try and come up with our nominations. And then in part 2, we will give you our review of the nominations, and we will try and predict what films and creatives are going to win. So that's us heading towards the door. This isn't a joke. Stop smiling, you sycophantic suck-ups. Get out. Stop laughing. So you can still follow us on social media where we are Watching Worst. You can still contact us at watchingworstfilms@gmail.com. So yeah, get in touch with us there if you have anything you'd really like for us to cover. We are easily persuaded by popular demand. So get in touch with us there. If you have any picks for this coming year, let us know and we'll feature it on the next episode. If you have any suggestions for our forfeit, because I think we should do the same thing, because I had a great time with the lovely lady. the ladies man.
The ladies man was great fun.
That I think about that on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah,
so
that
I'm forfeit. Yeah,
I'm up for that.
So
excellent. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, please don't be a stranger.
We might not be speaking to you every week, but we're still there for you. Come round and visit your old friends, Jericho and Kyle.
Excellent.
And yeah, we will see you week after next.
See you soon.
With the Razzie preview.
It never ends. See you soon, guys. Bye.